Mireille Clapot, who is an MP for Macron's En Marche party in Drum in southeast France. Mireille, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks very much for your time. First of all, your reaction to last night, your man on top.
Well, of course, I was satisfied and a very high sense of relief because we were not sure at all that Emmanuel Macron would have this 28% and be the first. And we knew that certainly Marine Le Pen would have a high score, but fortunately she was only second. So we are satisfied and optimistic for the second round.
Charles Bremner, our correspondent in Paris, was just explaining for us that part of the problem for Emmanuel Macron going forward is that a lot of French people don't like him. It's not necessarily about what he's doing, it's just about him. They don't like him. Do you recognise that problem, and is that something you think he is successfully working on?
Well, the people meet on markets, in the street, etc. Usually they are aware that he's a very clever man, that he's fully dedicated to this mandate of president. What they don't like with him is these small sentences that he could have, saying that it's very easy to find a new job and that you only need to cross the street. When he said something about the people that don't want to be vaccinated, and he told them in French, I want to emmerder them, and this they don't like. But most of them recognize that he was the only one to be able to face the terrible war and in Ukraine and the pandemic. So, of course, he has some defaults. He's a human and not a robot. And of course, some of them don't like him, but I don't think it's the majority.
Of course, the main issue you mentioned there, the pandemic, and of course the war raging in Ukraine at the moment. But a lot of people heading to the polls in France are worried about the cost of living. Inflation in France, north of 5%. Energy costs are up 28%. They see Emmanuel Macron and say, you're not doing enough.
The state, the government has been helping the French people, French population for a long time, because during the pandemic, France was the most helpful country for the restaurant, for the small shops, for the small companies. And now it has become a habit, I would say. And when the cost of fuel has exploded, there was a plan to help people, and now there is a reduction on the liter at the pump. There is a minus 15 or minus 18 cents on each liter, and they know that. So of course, it's never enough, but really, this plus money directly given to the poor, to the poor people, 100 euro. They know that, I think. They are aware of it, and they recognize it's very helpful for them.
And if that is so helpful, if that is so generous, why have 30% of French voters turned to the far right this time round?
Yes, you're right. It's very worrying, and it's bad news that Marine Le Pen plus Eric Zemmour, so the far right candidates, have more than 30%. And, my analysis is that in France, there is an anger. Maybe it's due to the revolution, as you mentioned, but I think that since the Gilets jaunes, the Yellow Jackets movement, people are still hungry. And it's difficult when you discuss with people in the street. They tell you, oh, yes, I'm against, I'm angry, my life is difficult. But they have free education, they have a free access to health. Unemployment is at a very low rate. So they are angry and they are anxious, but not about their personal situation, about a global situation where they see a threat. And I have to admit, even if it is not my values at all, that there is a feeling against foreign people, against immigration. And again, it's a kind of schizophrenia. French people are very open and very generous to welcome Ukrainian refugees, but they fear the danger that could be provided by immigration. So it's very easy for Le Pen and Zemmour to use this feeling and to make them having fear of what could be the future. But the real problems like ecological transition or Europe or all these things that we have to face, they are not in the program of the far right.
But does that not concern you, though? And does blame not partly fall at the feet of 5 years of En Marche and Emmanuel Macron, that for whatever all the various issues that there have been, it's not just that French voters are turning to an alternative, or a particularly dramatic alternative, they're turning to the far right, and in some instances, a big bunch of racists.
Well, this is certainly due to the fake news and the information. A lot of people still take the information on some media that are not really reliable. And again, it's a kind of a schizophrenic behavior because life is going as usual business. People have more jobs. The problem of all the companies are to find candidates.
So you're saying that 30% then they are misguided completely. Your point is they don't realise how good it is, and they're getting the wrong information on the news. That they are deluded.
I think that there is a gap between the situation of some people and the way they feel it. And we are reducing inequalities. We are, I think, really improving the situation. Of course, we had the yellow jackets, and there
Yeah.
is the increase in the price of energy. And there are some reforms that we could not do. For example, the retirement reform. And we have to be able to give higher wages to the people that take care of old people. We have dedicated a problem with single mothers.
Okay.
But it's true that seeing how people are angry and how they vote for extremes, I think this is not really in coherence with the real situation and the real helping that the real help that was given by the state this last month.
Thanks very much for your time this morning, Mireille Clapot, who's an MP for the En Marche party in Drum in south east France.